Hi guys, welcome back to B's Speed Shop. So today I'm going to be working on this outer sill and lower door jamb section, trying to get these panels fitting up properly and get them ready to be welded in as well. So I spent the majority of the day yesterday trying to get this outer sill panel to fit up properly. It's better than it was. There is a little bit of gap still along this edge, but I'm hoping if I can do the door jamb first and then clamp it and put a few spot welds along this edge, then I should be able to just close up this gap by pushing down on it and maybe a little bit of hammering along this edge just to close that gap. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this off and I'm going to start working on the door jamb section so I can get this piece cut out and get the new piece in. So what I had to do yesterday to get my outer sill fitting up properly was I had to put a cut along this edge of the floor. It was only about a mil or so wide, about as wide as the cutting disc, and that just allowed me to push this corner down a little bit, which helped close up the gap along this edge and along this edge here. So obviously I just need to come back, clean this up and weld that back together. But what I want to focus on today is getting this old door jamb cut out and getting the new piece fitting in and ready to weld in as well. So I've got my lower door jamb section all cut off now. So what I did on this end was I just cut straight through to cut that off. But this end what I had to do was cut along this edge so I could remove the lower door jamb section. And there was just a couple of spot welds on this bit here which I had to grind away so I could get the piece off from there. So now I've just got to clean up my edges a little bit, and I've still got I've got my new door jamb section up here, and what I did to mark it out was just put the old one in and roughly marked it so I know where I need to trim my new one off to make it fit. But what I'll do is I'll trim it a little bit longer so I can then grind it and get it fitting properly. I was just test fitting my new door jamb piece and I ran into a little bit of a problem where it's not lining up on this end. I'm not sure you might be able to see it from above, but you can see that this bit here isn't actually square. You can see this bit is going in a bit, so this edge wasn't lining up, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there's like a little buckle in here, and this piece isn't straight, it goes off that way. So what I'm going to have to do is do a little bit of work here just to sort of fix this corner so I can make it all match up. So I'm probably just going to hammer and dolly this back edge to get this wrinkle out and try and bend this bit in a bit more so it closes that gap there, and hopefully I can bring this bit out a bit more and bring that straight, which will hopefully just fix this edge. So I've been doing a bit more work on my lower door jamb section. I was able to pull this edge out because it was bashed in a bit, so I've pulled this out and I've squared up these edges now, which I'm much happier with the way they all line up. There is still a bit of a gap because I need to grind a bit more from this inside edge because I need the panel to move down closer to get the opening for the actual door the right size from where I've measured from this lip down to the top edge along there I've measured. So I just need this to come down a little bit just to match the other side. So I'm happy with the way that the back end of the door jamb is going so far, and I've got a bit more trimming to do on the front side of the door jamb. As you can see, that this top edge is just overlapping at the moment, so I need to trim a little bit more from there to get that to fit and line up. And then if you look at it from this way, at the moment the actual edge of the door jamb piece is binding on this on the inside of this radius, so I just need to grind a little bit off of the edge along that way just so that fits up a little bit better. There's a bit of a gap along where it meets this panel, so hopefully when I grind that edge it should just pull in a bit more and close that edge. So I just wanted to test fit my outer sill while I still had my lower door jamb piece clamped into place, and I'm really happy with the way that it's all fitting up now. There was a little bit of a gap along here, but when it's clamped together it closes up quite nicely, and the far ends, they've got a nice position. That's the main thing I was worried about, because this seam edge along here, it lines up with the seam that goes along the A panel and around the wheel arch, so I wanted to make sure I had those in the right position so it all lined up. I'm really happy with the gap. There's not much of a gap on this edge either. Once I've clamped it down and put a few spot welds in, it closes up quite nicely. So that little cut I put in along that edge has worked quite nicely because I was able to push this bit down, which made the whole outer sill go down a bit to close up that gap along there. So obviously I just need to finish trimming that and weld that back together before I can do the outer sill. But I'm really happy with the way that it's all fitting up. I've just got a little bit more trimming to do on my lower door jamb before I can weld that in, or at least get it tacked in. So I've cleaned up my A and B pillar lower sections with some rust remover stuff, and then I've sprayed both of them with some weld through primer, so they're now ready to be welded to. I've also fitted up and trimmed my lower door jamb section. I've drilled out all the holes for the spot welds along, so this seam is for the outer sill, and this is where it attaches to the side of the floor with all those spot welds. And I've sprayed it with some weldable primer, so that's now ready to go. But just before I weld that in, I've got a couple more spot welds to finish along that little closing panel. So I'm going to do those 3 spot welds quickly, grind them down and then spray them with some primer, and then I can get my lower door jamb fitted up and start tacking it in. So I've got my lower door jamb in a position where I'm happy with it. I've measured along this seam edge to the that little stepped edge of the guttering along the top, and I've measured that on the other side as well, so I know it's roughly in the same place all the way along, and I'm happy with that position. I just wanted to test fit the outer sill on with it to see how it all lined up. There's a slight gap along the seam, about that section just there, but I should be able to close that up once it's all clamped together, and I put a few spot welds in that should close up quite nicely. So I'm happy with the position of the lower door jamb and the outer sill. Obviously there's that, I made a cut along that inside edge, so I still need to weld that up, but for now what I'm going to do is get my lower door jamb section at least tacked in today, and then I'll probably come back next weekend, finish welding that at the same time as doing the outer sill, so I know it's still all lined up and it hopefully won't move too much when I start welding it in. So I've got my lower door jamb section tacked into place now. I've just got a few tacks along that seam there. Unfortunately I did try and put one on the corner but that blew out. Luckily I was able to get one either side of it though, so I'm quite happy with that. And on the front edge, where that seam is, I've got 2 along this edge and then 1 on this edge here. And I was also able to, there's a spot weld there and a spot weld there that I was able to get done. So obviously I've just got a few more spot welds along here to finish, spot welds along that edge to weld it to the edge of the floor, and then I just got to finish up both of the seams where they join up. So I'll just slowly build up the tack welds and just I'll probably do a few more and then grind it down so I can see where the gaps are and fill the gaps, and try and fill that corner there. So I'm going to be leaving this video here for now. I'm happy I was able to get my lower door jamb section tacked in this weekend. So I do have some time off work over the next week, so I'm going to try and get this side finished off. I've got this little seam here which I need to finish, and then I can get the outer sill on and sort of start welding everything together here to finish this side. And then I've got a couple of other little jobs I've got to do to finish off the floor before moving on to the rear of the car. I'm going to start at the back and then work my way forward to the front. Yeah, so I'm happy with the position. I've got my door jamb in, it's tacked in. I just got to finish welding up the seams and do a few spot welds. But I'm going to leave it here for now and pick it up next time. So thanks for watching this video.